Welcome to the Career Meets World podcast, Jonathan. I'm super hyped to have you on. You are a ton of energy. We just had an opportunity to chat. But for the audience, tell us how you're doing today.
You know what? I'm doing awesome because, actually, one of my goals this year on my vision board was to do a lot more podcasts and spread more words of wisdom with the world. And I'm here on this podcast today with you, Edward. So we're getting there. We're getting there.
I love that. You're manifesting your dreams really quickly. We're recording on week number 1 in the new year. And I'm excited to chat with you today, Jonathan, because I know you've accomplished a lot through your career. And as you know, I'm a big fan of kind of telling the story of what and how people have aspired to become, how they've gone through that journey, what they've learned, and more importantly, what were those key challenges that helped them persevere and really accomplish what they really want to accomplish. So to kick things off, I want to make sure that people know who you are, get a
Mhm.
flavor of who Jonathan is, what you care about. Can you give us maybe a 2-minute intro on Jonathan?
Man, I only can talk for 2 minutes anyways. No, I'm kidding. So quick background on me. So I'm Jonathan Javier. I graduated from University of California, Riverside, came from the Philippines. I come from a Filipino background. And yeah, throughout my life, I honestly never thought I was good enough at first, whether in regards to high school, in college, when I was applying to all these different roles at different companies. And I was applying to hundreds of them, hundreds every single day. And I would get rejected for most of them. And I always thought to myself, wow, am I ever going to get into my career? But through those rejections, I was able to turn that into redirection and actually get into my career, specifically working at Snapchat, Google, and Cisco. And then while I was working at Google, I actually started Consulting, which mission is to turn underdogs into winners. So helping those who come from non-target schools and non-traditional backgrounds and then help them get into their dream careers. So far we've helped thousands of students and job seekers land their dream jobs, especially during this pandemic. So that's what I strive to do in all that I do. And hopefully I can be able to go into the nitty gritty in regards to how I do it and how I can hopefully help everybody who's listening in.
Absolutely. Jonathan, we're going to get into everything that you've done today, that you're going to do over the next year, but you said something that's really important right now, and I want to quickly unpack it. And for anyone who continuously listens to the show, I thank you. And you know that we want to make sure that we get to know our guests. And Jonathan, you said right now that you doubted yourself and you had no idea how you're going to achieve the things that you want to achieve. And I think many of us, when we start our careers, it doesn't matter what background we come from. Yes, some people are more fortunate and have better support systems, better tools. And with that being said, it's part of the reason you and I do what I do what we actually want to do right now. So with that
Mhm.
said, like, why do you think you had so many of those fears or hesitations when you first started your career?
Yeah, comparison. Comparing is the thief of joy. I know it's a saying that a lot of people say, but comparison is the thief of joy. And why I say this is because, like you said, everybody has their own story and has their own path. I remember when I was in college, I was basically comparing myself to the Ivy League students of the world. And I was like, wow, these people are getting into the Googles, the Facebooks, the Goldman Sachs of the world. And I have never even gotten a chance to even interview. And I remember I was like, when am I going to get that chance? And whenever I saw it on LinkedIn, and everybody listening in, you've probably seen those happy to announce posts on LinkedIn where people announce their jobs. I was thinking to myself, wow, I'm jealous. I'm jealous of them. I'm jealous because they have the job that I want. And that's why I think the mindset is extremely important. So I shifted that mindset. And instead of comparing myself, I instead reached out to those people. I looked at who they tagged in the post. Those were the hiring managers. By shifting that philosophy and learning from people rather than comparing myself, that's what actually helped me a lot, especially to get into my career. So for those listening in, the people that you aspire to be, and if you see them on social media, getting jobs that you want or getting into something that you want to get into, reach out to them because the worst thing that can happen is they literally don't respond or say no. But the best thing that can happen is they give you insights which could help you turn from an underdog into a winner, as I say.
I love that. And since we're on a flavor of telling quotes right now. I think you and I both have heard the quote by Wayne Gretzky where he says you miss 100% of the shots you
Mm.
don't take. So in that spirit, I know that you kind of switched really quickly and had this realization that it's important to continuously learn, right? So a lot of people come out of college and they think that this structured, systemized education system is the last place they're possibly going to learn. And I know that's not the case for you. So again, whether it was early on in your career or even to this day, what are some of the outlets or avenues that you go down to seek out new information? Of course, LinkedIn is one platform, but what else do you do?
Yeah, so I do a lot of research, but it's crazy, Edward. Like all the information that you need to know in regards to different niches and fields is out there. Like how I learned about finance and stock investing was I did research on it, of course, but I just looked at TikToks. I know it sounds kind of funny, right? But people are giving this information out there for free too. So you can find in any niche or anything that you're specifically interested, you can find it on social media platforms, not just LinkedIn, but TikTok, YouTube, all these different things. All you got to do is basically search it. So, for example, digital marketing. If you want to learn about digital marketing, just search digital marketing courses for free, and they probably have some on YouTube and LinkedIn Learning. If you're trying to learn how to grow on social media, go look at the top people specifically in social media. And let's just say it's on Instagram. Go look at exactly what they do, what kind of series they do, etc., and replicate it. I think that people think that you have to make something completely different to be successful, whether it's building your own business or getting into your career, when in fact, a lot of things can be replicated, but just put your own twist to it. So that's what I always consider, especially with looking at these different things in society and in my career.
I love that because, again, it highlights that we don't necessarily have to learn everything in a structured course like manner. You can learn things in bite sized pieces. And the truth is, as we progress, as the creator economy continues, we're going to get more of this valuable content. So, who are some of the people that you'd recommend listeners follow that have really inspired you and helped you in your own journey?
Yeah, I hate to sound super basic, but Gary Vee, of course.
Legend.
Gary Vee literally always has the good snippets. He's a legend, right? The cool thing about Gary Vee, if you all have noticed in regards to what he does, is not only is he motivational, inspirational, but he's real. But how he posts, he cross posts on multiple platforms. So why I suggest looking at him is because if you're trying to scale on your following, look at how he posts. Because I've now realized throughout the past year that you could have a huge following on, let's say, LinkedIn, but not everyone's going to get your content. Imagine you cross posting it on multiple platforms. Someone who is a follower of yours is bound to get and see exactly what you posted and then look at the other platforms in regards to what you're talking about. So I'd say Gary Vee is one. I say another person is, of course, my business partner, Jerry Lee. He's always posting in regards to different LinkedIn strategies and motivational content. But why I tell you to reach out to him or follow him as well is because what I tell people all the time is find people who are in your niche. So let's say your niche is podcasting. I would go look at the top people who are in podcasting that are posting on LinkedIn. And what I do is the $1.80 strategy that Gary Vee talks about and comment something super insightful on there because their followers are probably podcast listeners. Then what's going to happen is you're going to be like, oh, who's Edward? Right. And then they're going to go to you. So the followers go to you. Right. So those are two people I recommend. And that's a little strategy that I kind of have utilized myself and have taught a lot of people to do.
What's brilliant about it is it's so simple, right? To your
Literally.
point, to your point earlier is that we often over-engineer and overcomplicate the action that we need to take to get to where we want to go.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the imperfect action that's going to actually get us to that place. And you've been doing a lot of that on LinkedIn. You've done a great job building a personal identity. So let's unpack that a little bit more because there's a lot of people right now who are certainly either looking for jobs or in a job and are a little bit curious about what they could be doing on the side in terms of developing themselves, maybe building a business on the side. So, can we talk a little bit about the personal branding? Why is it so important? And even feel free to talk about it through the lens of consulting and what you teach.
Yeah, personal branding is so important because for me, like I want my personal brand to, of course, reflect myself and my business. But as I told you before, our mission of turning underdogs into winners, I want people to think of whenever they think of consulting or think of my name, Jonathan Javier, they think of an underdog turned winner who came from a non-target school and non-traditional background to get into his career. I want people to think that is my personal brand, which it is, and then be inspired by that because they know for a fact that if I can do it, they can too. And that personal branding also creates reactive recruiting or reactive opportunities. So it's crazy, Edward. I actually talked about this in my Instagram post yesterday, but most of my speaking engagements, over 95% of them, I've never reached out. It's all reactive. So opportunities will come to you instead of you always having to seek opportunities if you have a personal brand, which is a positive one, reflects who you are, and ultimately makes an impact in society. So that's why I tell people, if you're trying to get a job, build a personal brand. If you're trying to build a business, build a personal brand as well. Those different things are going to set you apart from different individuals and help you be successful in anything that you do.
Yeah. So, on that note, I know at least in 2020 and parts of 2019, you were extremely active in video, right? So, if we talk about
Mhm.
content and different ways to build personal brand, right? Like not everyone's comfortable with video, but there's such an important element to it to learning who one is and what they're all about and what they stand for, what their beliefs are. How did you personally overcome any fears or limitations when you went on camera?
Good question. I actually used to be super introverted, but how I got over it was I just did it. I got inspired by people who were doing the video content and they were telling me, Jonathan, just do your first one and you're going to be hooked. And I realized that the thing that was holding me back was I was had the fear of people thinking that I was like weird and they would question me, right? But I didn't think of the possibilities that could come about. So when I first started my video series, actually, when I, I was working at Snapchat, was to basically give information to those who wanted to break into tech and give them insights. It was called
Mm.
Weekly Words of Wisdom. But then I utilized it to actually network with people. So what I did was I wanted to get into Google and work there. So I would interview people at Google. And then what I do is I post it on LinkedIn. And then I tag the person. And when they liked and commented on it, their whole network set up. And then guess what? They look at my profile, I had premium. I would go reach out to them, be like, hey, I saw you did my profile and are connected with the person I just did the video series with. It'd be great to connect. That's how I got all my tech professionals and recruiters to be connected with me, actually. So for those who are in fear of starting their own video series, just do it. It's okay if there's only one person doing it. It's fine. You're going to grow. Collaborate with other people too as well on your videos because you'll see a huge difference and you'll see that it's fun. Consider it fun, not just a job, but fun. Like Edward, I bet you consider your podcast extremely fun, right? That's why you do it. You don't just do it just to do it. It's fun, right? So have that fun element to anything that you do, especially for videos.
You're spot on. For me, doing podcasting, talking to people like you brings so much joy and fulfillment into my day because I get to learn as well while we build content live together for people to digest, process, learn from. And that's really what it's all about at the end of the day. I think you could empathize with this is everyone has something to teach. It doesn't matter what walk of life you come from, you have something to teach. And that's again why the creator economy is booming. So if you're in a job, looking for a job, and need something to positively distract you, I think you and I both would recommend go start building, expanding your personal brand. There are so many ways to do it. Again, highly recommend following Jonathan because you are a model example now of somebody who has done that really well. It obviously takes a great deal of work and perseverance. And that's kind of what I want to talk about next, which is no one's career path is linear or easy. And like
Yeah.
you said, you and I didn't necessarily go to top tier premier schools, but at the end of the day, here's the truth, it doesn't matter. What matters is your work ethic and how you were able to overcome a lot of things. So I'd love for you to think back maybe at one or two challenging moments throughout your career. What happened and how did you break through it and really persevere?
Yeah, perseverance and mindset are, I think, are the most important parts, especially with the career search. Because if you think about it, you're going to get into your career no matter what, as long as you don't stop trying, right? And yeah, I remember my lowest point was when I was a senior in college. I was interviewing at my, in quotations, dream company. And why I put quotations over dream company is because it wasn't actually my own dream company. It's what society deemed was a dream company. And I believe that. That's the crazy part, right? I think in today's society, dream companies that we aspire to get into are not our own companies, but it's what society says is. So that company was Goldman Sachs. And I actually flew out there, Edward, I'm serious. I flew out there twice. So I flew out there once. I was like, wow, I got an interview. I'm flying out and I just bombed the interview. I didn't know anything they were saying. It was for corporate treasury. They're like, what would you do if you do a put option with XYZ? I was like, oh my God, I don't know. And so I flew back defeated. I knew I wouldn't be able to get that. I wouldn't get the offer and I didn't. And then they called me back a week later, and they're like, hey, we'd love for you to fly back again and interview for another position. I was like, oh my gosh, they have to get me now, right? Because I've already flown there once. Flew out there again. I thought I crushed the interview. Came back, got a call, got rejected. And that was a low point in my life because I realized I was like, am I going to be able to get into my career? And so I felt defeated. But instead of using that as rejection, as I told you before, rejection is redirection, as long as you react to it in the right way. So I instead was inspired and motivated to not just strive for those companies, but strive for companies that were outside of my comfort zone. And like we told you, like we said before, that weren't necessarily coming to my school to recruit. And that's why I networked like crazy. And I focused, instead of focusing on the 99 rejections, I focused on the one yes. The one yes is extremely important in anything in your life because if you focus on the person and the people that support you and see the potential in you, those are going to be the people who make the difference. And that's what made the difference in my life in regards to my career and getting into tech coming from a non-target school.
I love that is focusing on the one individual who uplifts you, supports you, cheerleads for you, and really helps you overcome a lot of things. Thank you for sharing that. It's going to inspire a lot of people. I know it's going to support a lot of people who are going through different journeys, right? Like these mindset shifts, these little tricks of reframing what's happening, and as you said, redirection can be applied to any area of your life, right? Whether it's your career, whether it's a relationship, whether you're going through a health journey, there are so many things that we can apply this to. So take it to heart and take inventory of where you can apply this. So, one of the things I want to dig into is why you're super passionate about what you're doing today, right? You went on this journey to start one consulting in 2019. I know when you and I spoke, you mentioned that it was kind of a back of the envelope, back of the paper idea at the time. How did it come about? Let's talk about the early days and really what inspired it. I know you keep mentioning the mantra. I love it. But what was that
Yeah.
real initial inspiration?
Yeah, Edward, the real inspiration was when I actually got rejected by Goldman Sachs. It was interesting. I helped everybody else get into Goldman Sachs except myself. So what I did was I saved all the interview questions. I literally would break down exactly how to prepare, and I got a ton of people into the company. And then that's when I thought to myself, I was like, wow, is this something that I could do for my career and my life? Helping people. That's why I identified what my passion was. And so when I was at Google working there, I around and I saw that there wasn't a lot of people like me in regards to my similar background coming from a non-target school. And that's when I was like, okay, maybe I'll start a company that bridges that gap. And I remember I was thinking of a name. I was like, what do I call it? And I was like, winning plus consulting. Sounds good. Winsulting sounds kind of weird. Let's go Wansulting. So I started Wansulting on my birthday, actually, on January 20th. Yes, everybody, I am Aquarius. No, I'm kidding. But yes, I am an Aquarius. But I don't even think that matters. But anyways, but I started on my birthday, and it was because I had that passion for helping people. But also, Edward, like I was driving to different universities and organizations and doing workshops for free because I just loved doing it. And I loved making someone's day. And I know for a fact that if someone was able to make an impact, if I was able to make an impact on someone and get them into their dream career, then my day was complete. That's exactly why I started it. And that's why it's grown ever since.
I love that. And you did it from the heart, right? You care about helping people, and so many people go through this self-discovery journey of understanding what do they value, right? So often, and again, you and I have talked about this just briefly right now, where so many people are thinking they have to go to that ideal school, they have to go to that ideal company, but it's really about aligning yourself with what's inside of you, what's inside between those two ears in your head, and really understanding like what the hell do you care about. So you realized you love helping people, and you kind of gave birth to this incredible idea, which was Wansulting. And now you've been helping, tell me, fill in the blank for me, you've helped X amount of people.
Thousands of people land jobs. Probably, I think we've had impact over 1 million people now.
That's insane. And I commend you for doing that, because last year and going forward, more than ever, we need it and people need that support, right? It's not about driving revenue or making a business work. It's fundamentally about helping people. And you've helped people with the basics of resume writing, networking, interviewing, kind of going through that process. What are some of the services that you offer? How do you work and partner with people?
Yeah. So we do a lot of different services. So like we'll do like resume revisions in regards to helping someone make sure that their resume is complete with a lot of different impact metrics and make sure it's ATS friendly. We have LinkedIn strategies, which is our kind of bread and butter in regards to you expanding your reach on LinkedIn, creating content, etc. Also, job search strategy as well, which is we basically tell you how to get a job in regards to utilizing LinkedIn and other different strategies that we've personally utilized in order to get to Snapchat, Google, and Cisco. Also interview prep. It's very self-explanatory. And then we also have a course too as well, which our course literally entails the whole entire recruiting cycle. And what I say all the time is it's all you need to get a job. So the crazy part about the services is like we will literally work with you until you get a job. That's why we've had such amazing feedback on Consulting, because we literally work with you until you get a job. Because I think that's the most important part. Like if you sign up for a service, the end output should be a job. You know what I mean? Especially in careers. So those are some of the services we offer, and it's been exciting. I love working with people. That's for sure.
That's great. You strike me as somebody who understands white glove service and delivering end to end. So I love the fact that you stay with people until they actually get a job. Uh, Without bashing on any individuals, I think there's a lot of services out there that are not actually providing service, right? They're not actually helping people and really empowering them to land the role and almost hand holding them through the process, which is perfectly fine. What I view Wansulting as a guided GPS system, right? Like we can go down a road, there's traffic, there's cops out there, but you're a very simplistic GPS system to help them land a role. And I love that you're doing that. I'm curious if you'd be open to maybe dispelling and demystifying maybe 3 tips as it relates to job searching that you found fairly common, agnostic of industry.
Yeah, I love doing these. So number one, applying is sometimes not what you think. And why I say this is because I break it down to 4 tiers. I actually talk about this in the course, but let's break it down real quick. There's 4 tiers in recruiting. Tier 4, which is applying to roles, meaning you just apply just on the website. Tier 3, which is you get referred by just a random person at the company. But then there's 2 other tiers, which is tier 2, which is basically a hiring team recommendation where someone on the team recommends you. So let's just say you're going for a business analyst role and on strategy and operations, and another business analyst refers you who's on that team. And then tier 1, which is the actual. The thing is, though, everybody only knows about tier 4 and tier 3. There's going to be, let's just give a position, Facebook operations analyst. Probably 1,000+ people apply, which is tier 4. Tier 3 referrals, maybe like 50, right? But tier 2 and tier 1, tier 2, probably only like 5 people get recommended by a team member. And the hiring manager recommendation, probably like 2 people. How many positions are open? Maybe like 2, right? If you were a recruiter or a hiring manager, what would you look at first? The tier 4 and tier 3 or the tier 2 and tier 1? Why I'm telling you this is because the system teaches us that the more jobs we apply to, the more chances we get, which is true. But I feel like that wastes a lot of time. What you have to be doing is getting into the tier 1 and tier 2 placements because those are the ones that get you the job. So that's one part. Referral isn't enough. Say this is because everyone's getting referred nowadays. The referral guarantees that your resume gets looked at, but it does not guarantee an interview. I think people mistake that. So be sure when you get the referral, you should ask your referrer to refer you to the hiring manager because it gives you that extra layer to get in front of them. So that's number 2. Last but not least, taboo to ask for a raise or ask for more compensation. They give you the lowest rate on purpose because they know that you should negotiate. And if you don't negotiate, they just get you at the lowest rate. Always negotiate any job. Look at levels.fyi. Do your research on the market value of your position. Ask, because the worst thing that can happen is they say, I can't bump it up. The best thing that can happen, you have an extra $10,000 in your pocket. So those would, I would say, those are the 3 things. Hopefully that was descriptive enough for everybody listening in.
No, it definitely was. And I know you mentioned that you go a lot deeper on this in your course. So if somebody's out there looking for a job right now, at least check it out. One Consulting offers incredible services, and I know that you've helped so many people thus far. What I will layer into what you just said is that as a former sales leader at WeWork, I don't think I've ever talked about this on the podcast before, but I'd always say, and again, not everyone listening is necessarily in a sales role, but I would say if you're in a sales position and you're not negotiating your salary, I almost want to rescind your offer because you're not even negotiating at the earliest stages of being at that company. And it just demonstrates the type of individual you are. That being said, I never had that happen, but it was a parameter that I used. So if anything, use that as inspiration. Know that they are waiting for you to negotiate. And you are always leaving money on the table, and you don't get what you don't ask for. It's as simple as that, right? Life gives you what you ask for. If you start asking the right questions, you're going to get what you want in life, and it's that simple. So look, man, I know that we could talk for hours, but I do want to make sure that we hit on one specific thing because a lot of what we accomplish throughout our lives doesn't happen on our own. And we all have guiding forces, guiding individuals, call them mentors. Who are some of the people in your life that have really been there to support you, to guide you, and to inspire you consistently?
Yeah, so a lot of people. How I separate it is I have some personal ones and then I also have some career ones. So my personal ones, of course, my parents are the most inspirational people that I know because they inspire me every single day to make a difference in the world because that's what they did for my family. So I'd say my parents. But for career wise, I've had a lot of people that have helped me throughout my life. I think, Edward, that everybody out there who's looking for mentors, if anybody helps you in regards to your career and your life, they are a mentor. Like nobody would ever take 30 minutes to an hour, just say, to help you. and spend that time out of their day to speak with you if they didn't want to help you and see that you're successful. So always remember that. I had some people that were basically champions or people who advocate for you, who pass your resume on to the hiring managers. I've had people at LinkedIn, for example, one of my mentors, Linda King, she works there. She's a senior sales leader there. I have one specifically at Slack with Joy Embry, who's another one of my mentors. Another one named Pedro, who's currently at Facebook. All these different people have inspired me in my life because they gave back to me. And that's why I feel like not only giving back to others, but giving it through the heart. And that's what's important, especially when you see mentorship. Mentorship is not just a one-way street. Mentorship is a one-way, is passing it down from generation to generation to keep impacting others and make a difference in the world.
I love that. One of my favorite sayings is, if you're lucky enough to make it to the top, make sure to send the elevator back down. So that to me is what
Totally.
mentorship is really all about, is supporting each other and uplifting. So whether or not you don't, are like seeking mentors, whether you have mentors, or whether you have the opportunity to be a mentor, understand that what goes around comes around. So continuously think about, how can I help even one human being in their career and their life, and uplift them and pass down whatever you learn. Because as you and I talked about earlier, everyone has the opportunity to teach even one simple thing to somebody. So thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for helping so many people. And Jonathan, as you know, before we let all of our guests off the hook, we put them through the hot seat where we're going to ask you a couple of fun, personalized questions just for you. So I want to make sure that you're ready. Jonathan, are you ready for the hot seat?
I was born ready. So yes.
Awesome. Let's do this. So, one of the things that strikes me about you is that you're super centered. So, I'm curious, if you had to characterize the number one value that you live by, what would it be?
Yeah. So any setback is meant for a comeback. I think this is so important because what I used to happen all the time for me was I look at setbacks and I'd be like, oh, I'm never good enough. I'm never going to be able to achieve this. But as I always say, you never fail if you never stop trying. And if you're able to do that and continuously move forward and bring others with you, that's what's going to help you, especially in your life. So I'd say that part.
Nice. Number two. So, well, you and I talked about this in the pre-show, and I want to make sure we get this off our backs. Is I'd love to know, how many push-ups can you do, but more so, how many push-ups do you want to be able to do by the end of 2021?
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, I can do about 60 in a row actually, which is kind of crazy. My goal is to get 100 in a row. Quick backstory, everybody, about this on LinkedIn Lives. Like people tell me to do push-ups because Jerry told me to do push-ups one time, and I did push-ups just to get hyped up, like the crowd hyped up. So I do push-ups. It gets me excited. It gets me excited, and also keeps me fit. Yeah, I've actually I lost 35 pounds last year. So it was great. It was great to say the least.
It's awesome. For anyone listening, understand that that in itself should serve as inspiration, that even throughout a pandemic, we need to focus on our health. So, look, number three for you is, if you
Mhm.
had to read one book for the rest of time, what would that book be?
Great question. Great question. Any book by Malcolm Gladwell is amazing. David and Goliath. That's the sole
Mm,
reason of why Consulting started. Basically, the Goliaths are the big companies, and the Davids are the Consulting people of the world. How do we get into the big companies? How do we beat out the different competition? How do you come from a non-target school, non-traditional background, and get into your career? That's what it's all about. David and Goliath.
the true underdog story. Look,
Mhm.
Jonathan, it was such an honor, pleasure chatting with you, demystifying a lot of these things that might seem so complex, but in the reality, they just require a little bit of reshifting, redirecting, and a little bit of kind of advanced mindset to help you figure out where you want to go in your career. So I love what you're doing with Consulting. Keep it up. I'm excited to cheer on your journey this year. Thank you so much for joining the Career Meets World podcast. And as we always say at Career Meets World, go unleash your wildest potential. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, of course.